On January 5, 1987, Lydia McKee, a 21-year-old student, made plans to visit a friend hospitalized in Chiteo. She assured her parents that she would return for dinner at 8:15 p.m., expressing her intention to be home on time. Her father handed her the keys to his white Fiat Panda, provided her with some money, and reminded her to drive safely. Lydia kissed her father on the cheek and quietly stepped out onto the street, oblivious to the tragic reality that awaited her. She would never return home again. Student. Lydia, a 21-year-old second-year law student, was actively engaged in both academic pursuits and social activities. She was a member of the student organization Biedronki and the Catholic group Communion and Liberation. Known for her cheerful and helpful nature, Lydia was described by friends as someone with strong moral principles who could easily find common ground with others without imposing her views. Alongside her academic commitments, she carried a poetic soul, always accompanied by a notebook where she recorded poems and philosophical thoughts. It's not like her. The unexpected turn of events began when Lydia did not return home as planned from her hospital visit. Her mother, not accustomed to her daughter being late without notice, grew concerned. Worried, she contacted the hospital in Chiteo and spoke briefly with Lydia's friend, who confirmed the visit's duration from 7:15 p.m. to 8:10 p.m. Lydia abruptly left, citing running late. By 11 p.m., Lydia's father, anxious about his daughter's whereabouts, set out to search for her. Despite checking the route she was supposed to take and exploring the gas station and hospital parking lot, he found no sign of Lydia or her car. Determined, he continued to traverse the neighborhood, hoping to locate his daughter. Simultaneously, Lydia's mother reached out to friends and relatives, but all efforts were in vain. No one had seen Lydia. In search of traces. In the early hours of January 6, parents notified the police about their daughter's disappearance, prompting law enforcement to swiftly initiate an investigation. Authorities meticulously searched the route from Verse, where the McKee family resided, to Sitiglio, focusing on treacherous roadsides and ravines prevalent in the area. Concerned that the student might have encountered an accident on one of the hazardous stretches, a helicopter was deployed for an aerial search. However, it proved unsuccessful in locating either the white Fiat Panda or the missing girl. News of Lydia's disappearance spread rapidly, leading to the mobilization of dozens of volunteers, including classmates and members of Comunione e Liberazione, to aid in the search effort. Organized into groups, they systematically combed through areas where Lydia might be found. A breakthrough came on the morning of January 7, when one of these groups discovered the abandoned Fiat Panda. The car was left by the roadside, near the entrance to a disused gravel pit, merely 300 meters from the Chiteo hospital. Authorities were promptly informed and arrived at the scene. Death will come, and it will have your eyes. Tragically, Lydia McKee was found deceased, lying face down, covered by a large cardboard box. Beside her, the police discovered her leather bag containing personal items, such as her driver's license, fuel money, and pieces of paper with 2 poems. One of the poems, expressing unrequited love for a man, was penned by Lydia herself. The second, titled "Death Will Come, and She Will Have Your Eyes," belonged to the renowned Italian poet Cesare Pavese. Death will come, and she will have your eyes. The death that's ever present. From dawn till dusk, insomniac. Death like an aged regret, like an absurd habit. Your eyes shall transform into an empty utterance. A voiceless scream, a hush. Thus each morning you witness them. bent over your reflection in the mirror. Cesare Pavese, 1950. Lydia met her end through 29 stab wounds. Although the murder weapon remained undiscovered, evidence pointed to the attack occurring inside the car, with the victim likely situated in the front passenger seat. Subsequent to the incident, an autopsy revealed that the assailant had compelled the victim into a state of intimacy before the fatal assault. Biological traces of the perpetrator were gathered from the body and dispatched to a laboratory for DNA analysis, a process that, at that time, required several months for conclusive results. Farewell. On February 9, a somber funeral service for Lydia took place, drawing hundreds of dismayed residents from Verse. The small town's inhabitants struggled to comprehend who could perpetrate such a heinous act against a person known for her sweetness and kindness. On that poignant day, the McKee family received numerous condolences, both in person and through letters. Among these expressions of sympathy, they encountered something unsettling: a mysterious poem titled "On the Death of a Friend." The poem proved to be exceedingly cryptic, intertwining references to the Bible and the demise of Jesus Christ. It included passages chronicling Lydia's life journey and the inexorable nature of her death. The letter bore no signature, concluding with only a mysterious "O" adding to the enigma. Investigation. The police treated the letter with utmost seriousness, particularly given its religious tone, leading them to suspect a priest as the potential author. Consequently, focus shifted to Reverend Antonio Costabile, whose services Lydia frequently attended. On the evening of January 5, 1987, the priest lacked a solid alibi. He asserted having dined with friends and returned to the parish house to prepare a homily for the upcoming Mass, retiring to bed around midnight. Contradicting this account, some witnesses claimed that Rev. Costabile was not at home but had rendezvoused with a certain woman. Nevertheless, the priest's narrative ultimately prevailed, and those who accused him were convicted of perjury. Antonio Costabile was completely exonerated, absolved of any suspicion. Other theories. Concurrently with the pursuit of the anonymous letter's author, the police explored alternative leads. Suspecting that the perpetrator was acquainted with Lydia, authorities meticulously interviewed her friends. Among them was Roberto Bassis, who had harbored long-standing feelings for the girl, only to face rejection. However, during the time of the crime, Bassis had a solid alibi. He was in a restaurant in Milan, corroborated by numerous witnesses. Following Bassis, the police turned their attention to Giuseppe Saccu, a schoolmate of Lydia and a fellow member of Communion and Liberation. Though initially uncertain in his testimony, other witnesses eventually verified that Giuseppe had been elsewhere during the assault on the student. Why me? With no fresh leads, the Lydia McKee murder case languished on a shelf until 2009, when a grim discovery was made in Cacchio, near Verse, the body of a woman wrapped in cardboard. The perpetrator, a painter named Giuseppe Colomo, was swiftly convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment. While authorities sought to link him to Lydia McKee's murder, a disparity in DNA samples ruled out any connection, forcing detectives to concede the inaccuracy of their initial theory. Nearly resigned to the prospect of an unsolved case, the police, in 2014, opted to release to the media the mysterious anonymous letter received by Lydia's parents on the day of her funeral. Seeking public assistance, the press and television broadcast the content of the poem, including this excerpt. Why me? Because you are. Why on this cold night, when the stars are so beautiful, your body lies on a tattered veil. Stefan. The melancholic verses caught the attention of Patricia Bianca, an acquaintance of Lydia. She asserted that the poem's author could be Stefano Binda, a 50-year-old school friend not only of Bianca herself, but also of McKee. At that time, Stefano Binda, a doctor of philosophy and esteemed educator, resided in Brebi, located in the province of Vers, and enjoyed an unblemished reputation. Providing the police with handwriting samples, Patricia submitted occasional greeting cards received from Stefano. An analysis of the handwriting confirmed, with a 99% probability, that Binda was indeed the author of the anonymous poem on the death of a friend. On January 15, 2016, Stefano Binda was apprehended as a suspect, and it swiftly became apparent that he harbored secrets. Over the past 2 decades, Binda had grappled with substance addiction, undergoing multiple unsuccessful stints in rehabilitation. Recently, he had lost his driver's license due to a conviction for driving under the influence. January 5, 1987. In Binda's residence, authorities discovered a diary from the 1980s, providing detailed insights into his life. However, the entries for January 5, 1987 had been deliberately torn out. Binda, holding a PhD, vehemently denied crafting the anonymous poem and being involved in Lydia McKee's murder. He insisted that on the fateful day he was on vacation in Pragelato, a location 250 kilometers away from Vers. Lacking witnesses to substantiate Stefano's alibi, the prosecutor opted to proceed with criminal charges. Binda faced accusations of premeditated murder, and his trial commenced in 2017. While it appeared that the perpetrator had been identified, significant gaps persisted in the narrative. Notably, there was no concrete evidence against Stefano. The DNA extracted from the stamp on the anonymous letter did not match Binda's DNA. Moreover, the biological traces of a man found on Lydia's body were mysteriously destroyed, precluding any possibility of a match. Guilty? In 2018, Stefano Binda was convicted of Lydia's murder and received a life sentence. However, an appeals court overturned the verdict, citing insufficient proof of the defendant's guilt. After spending 3 years incarcerated, Binda was released, and the state compensated him with €300,000. On January 27, 2021, the Court of Cassation ultimately dropped all charges against him. Throughout this ordeal, Lydia's relatives remain convinced of Stefano's guilt, given their shared interest in the poetry of César Pavese and a brief romantic involvement. Unfortunately, there is scant evidence against Binda. While his letter on the death of a friend includes lines referencing the murder, it does not establish conclusive proof. Notably, law enforcement still believes in Stefano's guilt, holding on to the hope that he will one day be incarcerated. The case raises questions about Stefano Binda's culpability. Without conclusive evidence, the uncertainty surrounding the circumstances leaves room for speculation and debate about whether he is truly the perpetrator or not. I hope you liked this story. Please don't forget to leave a comment sharing with your thoughts below. Give a thumbs up this video and remember to hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for more captivating stories. Thank you for joining us on this remarkable journey, and we'll see you in the next video.